Okay, let's unpack this. We are diving into a feat of viewing dedication that is both impressive and maybe a little terrifying.
Just a little.
The commitment of consuming all 4 massive seasons of Stranger Things in a compressed, nonstop marathon. We're talking about a caffeine-fueled, emotionally taxing 4-day race just to catch up before the final season lands.
Right.
So our mission today isn't just to, recap the plot. It's to distill what makes this series so wildly compelling, not just as entertainment, but as an intense, emotional, and I think a genuinely cinematic journey that demands your total immersion. What is it that makes this the best ever binge-watching experience?
What's fascinating here is really understanding the genius of the series design. It immediately sets itself up as this complete 80s nostalgic movie universe.
Yeah, you feel it instantly.
You do. It's a shared world that just seamlessly blends the spirit of Dungeons & Dragons, that heavy sci-fi lore, some deep psychological horror. And this is the key, a raw, undeniable emotional core. This mix doesn't just entertain, it creates a whole era you feel like you're living inside of.
Whole world.
Exactly. And that blend makes the commitment feel earned. But the real structural innovation here, and the reason a 4-day marathon is even possible, is the show's evolution. It starts driven by its central mystery, the Upside Down, the Demogorgon.
Oh, wait, what is going on, Faith?
Precisely. But then it executes this subtle, profound transition. By season 3, it's not about the mystery anymore. It's driven entirely by its characters, by their fierce, unyielding relationships and their loyalty to each other. That shift, that's the engine of the obsession.
And that engine gets ignited in a very specific, almost perfect place. Season 1. It's the essential beginning. It sets a tone that is somehow both warm and chilling at the same time. The nostalgia just hooks you immediately. The synth music, the bikes, the D&D campaigns. It all creates this protective atmosphere, which, of course, contrasts so sharply with the cosmic horror that's lurking just beneath the surface.
But the real anchor of season 1, the thing that compels you past that initial mystery, is the emotional core you mentioned.
It has to be Joyce Byers.
Without a doubt. It starts with Will's disappearance, of course, but it's Joyce's frantic, almost reckless search that provides the gravity. Her determination, her refusal to accept any rational explanation, that becomes the core moral framework for the entire show. She carries that hope through all 4 seasons.
It's her spine, really.
It is. And that's brilliantly set up in the scene that I think goes straight to the heart of every viewer. The moment Joyce realizes she can communicate with Will using the Christmas lights.
Oh, that scene is just, it's perfect.
It's a perfect mix of desperation and revelation. And cinematically, the scene rejects logic. It bypasses technology, it bypasses science, and it leans entirely into a mother's fierce, desperate instinct. Winona Ryder's performance in that moment, it instantly tells you, the audience, that logic will fail you here, but love and connection just might breach dimensions.
Yeah, absolutely. And to really get the depth of season 1, we have to look at the deliberate misdirection it uses.
You're talking about the body.
The fake body reveal. The show builds up this terrifying inevitability of Will's loss, right up to a public funeral. It's a moment designed to just crush all hope.
And it does, you feel it sink.
And only then does the writing pull the rug out. It reveals the body was just a prop cotton and a fake body. I mean, that move profoundly amplified the uncertainty of the world. It makes Joyce's stance look less like hysteria and more prophetic.
It establishes the stakes. And then you have that other pivotal scene, the one with 11 at the restaurant. This is the moment the show proves it's not just a kid's adventure.
Right. She's just sitting there, this traumatized kid, discovering waffles for the first time, embodying pure fragility.
And that fragility is immediately juxtaposed with this brutal adult peril. Moments later, her innocence is shattered by sudden government-level violence, the man being shot. That sequence is the show making its statement. This is a world where children will face adult consequences. It blends that childlike wonder with adult threat so seamlessly.
It really does. That blend of the profound terror, the Demogorgon, the coldness of the Upside Down, it's so perfectly balanced against the purity of the kids' friendship and their loyalty. That tension between the light and the dark is what keeps you so viscerally invested.
And when you look back at those foundational characters, I mean, the consensus is undeniable. The powerhouses of season 1 were 11 and Joyce Byers.
Oh, for sure.
11, through Millie Bobby Brown's incredible performance, just captured this raw, exposed innocence. A child with immense power who still just wants a friend. And you put that next to Joyce's ferocious maternal instinct. Both of them just transcended the standard tropes, the scared girl, the hysterical mother, and became these immediate emotional anchors.
And with that bedrock established, we move right into season 2, which had this huge task of expanding a story that, honestly, felt kind of perfectly contained.
It was a big risk.
It was, but it succeeds almost instantly. It broadens the character roster and just raises the emotional stakes. Max Mayfield's entry, for example. It's not a quiet integration, it's a confident statement.
The arcade scene.
Exactly. The arcade scene, the music, the skateboard, her whole attitude. She embodied this independence, this street-smart confidence that was completely different from Eleven's guardedness. She throws this fresh, strong female dynamic into the group of boys and immediately complicates things.
And speaking of emotional payoffs, Season 2 masterfully uses the audience's collective relief. After all the turmoil of Season 1 where you think 11 is gone, the very first episode gives you that brilliant sudden confirmation 11 is alive.
I literally cheered. I remember yes.
It's not subtle. It's designed for that visceral emotional release. It leverages your investment in her survival to just propel the narrative forward.
But the real genius of the character writing, I think, really starts to show in Season 2 with Steve Harrington.
Yeah.
We have to spend some time on this arc.
Oh, we have to. It is character writing done right. He starts quite deliberately as the classic 80s archetype. The superficial jock, worried about his popularity, his perfect hair.
The guy you're supposed to hate. The foil for Nancy and Jonathan.
Exactly. The writers set him up to be disposable, but they refuse to leave him there. In Season 2, he loses Nancy and is kind of unexpectedly relegated to the role of babysitter and reluctant monster hunter alongside Dustin.
And that forced partnership is everything.
It's the crucible of his transformation. He has to step up. He has to provide protection and guidance to someone smaller and weaker. And he's not doing it for popularity. He's doing it out of necessity and this unexpected loyalty. He transforms from a self-centered teenager into a genuine, caring, protective figure.
It's amazing.
His whole arc across the next few seasons is just subverting that trope. He trades his focus on popularity for the responsibility of his kids. He starts giving advice about romance while, also brandishing a spiked baseball bat against demodogs.
And that transformation directly gives birth to what is, for so many people, the emotional heart of the show's humor. Steve and Dustin. The most unexpected, yet most iconic duo.
It shouldn't have worked, but it did, flawlessly. Because they fulfilled each other's needs. Dustin needed a cool older brother figure, and Steve, he needed a purpose.
He found it in being a protector. Their chemistry is effortless, and it introduced this unique brand of humor and heart that just elevated the show's capacity for joy amidst all the horror.
Which leads us into Season 3, where the show reaches its final pivot point. By this stage, you're not just watching for the Mind Flayer mystery anymore.
No, you're living for the characters.
Exactly. It becomes about their inside jokes, the relationship dynamics, Mike and 11, Hopper and Joyce, and of course, the Steve and Dustin comedy routine. The plot now serves the character relationships. The monsters are just tests designed to reinforce those bonds.
And visually, Season 3 is just spectacular. The Starcourt Mall, we have to analyze the role of that set design.
It's not just a location, it's a sensory immersion into 1985. The production design just achieved maximum nostalgia. The neon colors, the lighting, the clothes, the music, it feels like the entire thing was pulled from an 80s movie poster.
And that vibrant, contained environment made the horror feel even more invasive.
Absolutely. It also facilitated another excellent character introduction, which was Robin.
A total breath of fresh air. She steps into the story and immediately challenges Steve's ego, but at the same time forms this quick, authentic bond with him.
Their dynamic forged in the shared misery of Scoops Ahoy.
It felt so organic. Her humor, her quick wit, and the friendship they develop, which leads to that incredibly sensitive and powerful revelation later. She just injected a new layer of intelligence into the group.
Now, before we get to the climaxes of these seasons, we do have to address the one. Let's call it a narrative stumble that happened in Season 2.
The Lost Sister.
The infamous Episode 7. I mean, the intention was clear. Expand 11's world, force her to confront her trauma. But the result was a dramatic tonal clash. It felt like watching a completely different show.
It really did. It was so jarring. You're so invested in what's happening back in Hawkins, and suddenly you're pulled into this gritty urban revenge plot that just, it didn't feel connected.
It was a risk that didn't quite land. It just disrupted the momentum.
Thankfully, it was limited to just that one instance. The show quickly got back on its feet and pulled you right back into the relationships you actually care about in Hawkins.
And those relationships are why you stay. If you look at the fan favorites from seasons 2 and 3, it really highlights the success of the character crafting. Max and Dustin often won hearts. And then you have Hopper and Steve, who are lauded for providing heart and humor both.
The gruff protector and the reformed hero.
The show had mastered making you deeply care about the fate of its entire evolving family.
Okay, now we have to talk about the weight of sacrifice, because the show doesn't treat the stakes lightly. In season 2, the stakes are raised fundamentally with the Mind Flayer possessing Will. The threat becomes existential, psychological, deeply personal.
It's not just a monster chase anymore.
Not at all. And with that threat comes devastating loss. The first major sacrifice that truly hits hard is Bob Newby's death.
Oh, Bob.
This moment is so effective because of who Bob was. He was this beacon of unrelenting optimism, a gentle goodness. He represented a normal, peaceful life for Joyce.
So his death functions as this deliberate, cruel narrative mechanism. It's a punishment for Joyce daring to seek a quiet life. He dies a hero, helping everyone escape, but he's taken so brutally just seconds from safety. That sudden, violent death of such a purely positive character is a moment that just breaks you.
It really does. It teaches you that even the purest hearts can be extinguished.
But the writing is masterful at balancing that pain with earned emotional reward. After the trauma of Bob's death, we're rewarded with the long-awaited snowball dance scene, a promise from season 1.
That scene is pure, unadulterated release. The soft lighting, the music, Eleven and Mike's dance. It's pure nostalgia and emotion. It pays off years of unspoken longing and lets you, the viewer, just breathe and celebrate their survival.
We see that same pain and sympathy balance perfected again in season 3 with Billy Hargrove.
A very complex character.
Initially, he's just this volatile, aggressive, human antagonist, but the show adds critical layers, the reveal of his hidden, tragic backstory, the abusive father, his own internal struggles. It adds this crucial complexity. So even as he's acting as this terrifying force for the Mind Flayer, you start to feel sympathy for him.
You start to understand that his rage is a response to overwhelming pain.
Exactly. It's an incredibly powerful narrative choice. So when Billy makes his ultimate sacrifice, it highlights the show's beauty, its ability to make you feel profound sympathy for the antagonist.
Yeah.
Even in his death, you genuinely feel bad for him.
But maybe the biggest emotional gut punch of season 3, even more than the deaths, is delivered in the quiet form of Hopper's letter to Eleven.
Oh, that letter.
After his apparent sacrifice, that letter is discovered, and it just solidifies their entire powerful, adoptive father-daughter relationship. It confirms his deepest desire to be a family. The key line, the one that shattered everyone, always wanted to be a good dad. That simple sentence expressed all the unspoken love and regret between them. It was an emotionally devastating moment that cemented their bond and just left the audience completely broken.
And if we connect these moments, Bob, Billy, Hopper's letter, to the bigger picture, they function as essential narrative gravity. They ground the sci-fi in real human heartbreak. These moments transform the series from just a great genre show into a truly profound emotional journey.
And if the first 3 seasons defined that world and its emotions, Season 4 transitioned into what felt like a truly elevated experience. The show matured into a full cinematic universe.
Everything was bigger, darker.
The stakes felt exponentially really high. The threat to Hawkins was no longer contained. It felt pervasive, strategic, and real. And that atmosphere was engineered by the introduction of the ultimate antagonist, Vecna.
A true nightmare villain.
His presence is terrifying, not just physically, but psychologically. His look, his voice, the way he preys on trauma, it's just perfect.
And Vecna is the culmination of the show's entire mythology. His reveal is, I think, the most satisfying twist in the whole series. The massive revelation that Vecna is actually Henry Creel, who is also one. That mind-blowing moment ties together all 4 seasons into a single, complex, deeply personal antagonist for Eleven.
Okay, let's break that down, because the way it's written is just perfection. The creation of Vecna is completely tied to Eleven's own origin story.
Exactly. Henry Creel was always a sociopath, recognized as one in the lab. His power was immense, but it was contained by that inhibitor chip from Dr. Brenner. When Eleven unknowingly connects with him and helps him remove that chip, she unleashes true chaos.
It's her fault, in a way.
In a tragic way, yes. That moment in the lab is where the mythology of the Upside Down's ultimate predator begins. She fights him, She banishes him through a tear in reality, and in doing so, she sends the first, most powerful human conduit into that dark dimension.
And he becomes Vecna.
He morphs over years into the creature we know as Vecna, which means 11 is directly, tragically responsible for creating her own worst enemy. That level of interconnected emotional layering is just flawless writing.
That personal conflict makes season 4 so emotionally exhausting, and we have to dedicate some serious time to what many people consider the peak of the entire series, the episode Dear Billy.
This episode alone deserves an Oscar. That was the immediate reaction.
And it's all because of Sadie Sink's raw, devastating performance as Max. Her storyline, grappling with this immense grief and paralyzing guilt over Billy's death, is just so heavy. And the climax, where Vecna preys on her trauma at the gravesite, is emotionally grueling.
The core of that scene is Max's monologue at the grave. It's her moment of emotional release. She's reading a letter she never intended to send, finally letting out all the complex feelings of anger, love, and agony. Her line, delivered with this devastating vulnerability. "I'm sorry, I just wish you were still here."
Chills, just thinking about it.
Sadie Sink's ability to convey that blend of apology, regret, and the sheer terror of losing her soul to Vecna was transcendent. The camera work, the score, the editing, a masterclass in building tension.
And of course, the cultural impact of this episode is inseparable from Running Up That Hill.
That's not just a soundtrack choice. It became the anchor for her survival, literally saving her life by grounding her in reality.
It became more than a song.
It became a feeling, a cultural anthem instantly linked to coping with trauma and empowerment. It went viral because its themes resonated so far beyond the show's actual plot.
And beyond those huge set pieces, season 4 also delivered these quieter, equally powerful emotional scenes. We have to talk about Will and Mike in the van.
Oh, a masterclass in subtlety.
Superficially, the dialogue is about Will reassuring Mike about 11. But what you're really seeing is the hidden pain in Will's eyes. The unspoken love, the complex emotions he's struggling to suppress for his best friend.
It's immense vulnerability disguised as supportive dialogue, and the cinematography elevates it to pure cinematic gold. The camera holds on Jonathan's reflection in the back mirror, capturing his protective, understanding gaze as he watches his younger brother struggle.
That shot confirms that Will's struggle is seen and understood, even if the words can't be spoken yet.
Oh.
It's just beautiful.
Now, we should acknowledge the one element that was noted as a little less strong in season 4, the Russian jail storyline.
Yeah, it did feel a bit disconnected at times.
While it was necessary for Hopper's survival, it often felt like it stretched the tension and focus away from the main action in Hawkins. The pacing just dragged a little compared to the Vecna hunt.
That's a fair critique. However, that weakness was immediately and I think overwhelmingly compensated for by the incredible emotional power of the reunion.
Oh, absolutely.
When Hopper and Joyce finally reunite, the raw emotion, the relief, the physical urgency of that moment was so palpable and so necessary.
And then the reunion between Hopper and 11.
That was pure magic. The hug, the silence, the sheer unconditional relief and love between them. It was such an earned moment of connection that paid off years of audience investment. It totally balanced out any weakness in that storyline for me.
And the emotional truthfulness across the season, especially in those internal struggles, led to a shift in audience favorites. Will and Max really stood out in season 4 because of the sincerity and truthfulness of their performances. They carried the heaviest emotional burdens.
So if we step back and summarize this whole experience, 4 days, 4 seasons. It's a commitment to a series that gave you laughter, terror, gut-wrenching tears, and total immersion. It reinforces the whole idea. Binge-watching Stranger Things isn't just passing time, it's a profound, shared, emotional journey.
Yeah.
Every single season delivered something vital, unbreakable friendship, profound courage, raw pain, and ultimately, this relentless promise of hope. It's really a pinnacle example of how serialized storytelling can completely consume and invest an audience.
And the final synthesis of the show's success connects right back to that deep emotional investment we talked about at the start. It is the loyalty to the characters, especially those who have undergone these massive redemptive arcs, that drives this series.
Like Steve.
We talked about his transition, and his arc has made him so indispensable to the show's emotional fabric that his potential fate in the final season creates actual, palpable anxiety among the global fan base.
The hashtag is everywhere. Don't kill Steve.
And you have to analyze why. It's because his transition from that self-centered jock to the protective, hilarious heart of the group makes him so beloved. His survival has become, for many, synonymous with the survival of the show's own heart. His loss would feel like a betrayal of the journey the writers took him on.
And finally, we have to revisit that anthem that came to define season 4. Running up that hill, running up that building. It moved beyond Hawkins, beyond Max's struggle. It became a shared cultural feeling.
It perfectly encapsulates the necessity of fighting those uphill battles, whether the struggle is against monsters from another dimension or the psychological trauma within. It's a perfect thematic wrap-up for a series that asks its characters, and by extension you, the listener, to face fear head-on.
To run toward the danger, not away from it.
Exactly. And this all raises one final important question for you to think about as you anticipate the final season. Given the deep emotional investment the show demands in its characters, particularly someone like Steve Harrington, what responsibility does the series ultimately have to its audience when determining the fate of a universally beloved character? And how does that perpetual underlying fear of a character's death paradoxically enhance the entire consuming viewing experience that kept you hooked for 4 days straight?